So I want to welcome everyone to today's session where we're going to learn something about mentoring and coaching. And if you have questions, this is your opportunity. Oh, Biana, thank you. This makes our day. Cute. Yes, this is a wonderful, oh, yes. Okay, so for today's session, we have two distinguished guests that I will be talking to answer your questions on mentoring and coaching. And I'd like to start by introducing them. You all know them, but let me tell you some more about them, just in case you don't know everything that you should know about them. So let's begin with Nutan. Dr. Vaidya is a professor and discipline chair of psychiatry and behavioral sciences and vice dean of faculty affairs and equity. She began her career right here at Chicago Med School as a psychiatry resident. During her time here at CMS, she has held various administrative positions. She has served as the chair of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences from 2003 to 2013. And she also served as the interim chair of the Department of Neurology in 2009. Dr. Vaidya assumed her role as Senior Associate Dean of Faculty Talent Recognition and Enhancement in 2014. And in 2016, she took the leadership role in the newly created Academic Learning Environment Office. Under her leadership, the medical school has implemented measures to promote professionalism and build resilience in faculty, staff, and students. She's been instrumental in starting the medical school's clinical faculty recognition program. In 2021, she assumed her new role as Vice Dean of Faculty Affairs and Equity. And in this role, she works with individuals in CMS across the school to develop and implement strategies to increase faculty diversity, enhance faculty excellence, ensure a robust faculty development program, and recruit and develop top leaders and focus on junior faculty mentorship and inclusion. She is a distinguished fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, and she's published extensively in psychopathology and neuropsychiatric education. She's won several awards for teaching and clinical care of neuropsychiatric patients. So welcome, Dr. Vaidya, to today's session. Oh, you've lost me. How did that happen? Okay, I might have to get rid of my background. Hold on one second. And then I'll introduce you, Mildred. Hold on one second. I don't know how
we can hear you, Judy.
Well, that's sorry about that. Just give me 1 second. Background, and I'll say none. Okay. And I have no idea why that's not working. Okay, you can hear me. I'm at the med school, so if you stop hearing me, please flag me down. I have it that I have no.
We see your background, but we don't see you.
I know. Okay.
Now we don't even see your background.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
But we can hear you clearly.
Okay, okay. Well, I'll just continue. So I don't know what to do about that. That's a shame. Okay. Dr. Mildred Olivier, welcome. Dr. Olivier is an alumnus of Chicago Med School. She graduated in 1988 and she joined CMS in 2012 as the Assistant Dean of Diversity. For the past 9 years, Dr. Olivier has been responsible for developing and supporting diversity initiatives for CMS faculty and students across the campus. Some of the programs she has developed for the underrepresented in medicine students include the Mini Medical School Program, Race and Medicine Symposium, Specialized Career Advising Sessions, Student Tutoring, and Individualized Strategic Enhancement Program. Her relationship with Creating Pathways and Access for Student Success Foundation has successfully raised over $300,000 to support her programs. Dr. Olivier is a nationally and internationally known ophthalmologist specializing in glaucoma. She has devoted her career to serving patients from underserved areas. A clinical professor of ophthalmology and CMS, she has taught at the John Stroger Hospital of Cook County and has increased the ophthalmology faculty for research opportunities. She was the CMS Global Health Director, and she often accompanied our students to China, approving their clinical experiences and teaching the global awareness course. She's conducted several humanitarian missions in Haiti and has won several awards, including the very prestigious honorable mention she received recently from the Gold Foundation for the Pearl Baerbaum Hurwitz Humanism in Healthcare Award. Yay. Dr. Olivier will be, unfortunately for us, leaving Chicago Med School in January to become the founding campus dean of the Ponce Health Science University at the regional campus of St. Louis, Missouri. So, that's why you couldn't see me. So now we're okay. So welcome, Dr. Vaidya and Dr. Olivier. Thank you for joining me today. And I'm going to ask you a few questions that I have with regard to mentoring and coaching. And if any of the participants out there have other questions, I hope we leave lots of time at the end for them. But also feel free to unmute yourself. And if you want follow-up information on one of the questions, just unmute yourself and shout out. Okay, so let's begin with the main question. And that is, what's the difference between coaching and mentoring? And Nutan, do you want to take that one?
Sure. And you know, I'm actually going to add another part of it because that's also confused. Coaching, mentoring, and therapy, how these three areas are different. So let me first talk about psychiatry and psychotherapy. Psychotherapy primarily focuses on diagnosis of DSM disorders and treatment, whereas both coaching and in coaching and in mentoring, you do not focus on diagnosis or treatment. It has to be very clear, particularly in coaching, which is a very structured relationship, same as psychiatrist, psychotherapist relationship. Coaching is a structured relationship. So you make sure that it's not therapy, and this, the clients know that it's from the get-go that it is not. In psychiatry or psychotherapy, often psychiatrists focuses on past events and how they trigger current behavior and how that can be changed or addressed. Whereas in coaching, past is not discussed. It is here and now, and what do we need to do? Coaching is much more goal-oriented, where coach specifically focuses on outcomes. And in coaching, there can be remedial coaching, which is ordered by often the employers, and developmental coaching, which can be suggested by employer and sought by clients. Mentoring is, as many of us know, is in its truest sense, it's a lifelong relationship where a mentor is friend, philosopher, and guide. So at times, a mentor would give advice, share their own personal experiences, promote the individual to other people. Another way it's called sponsoring. So they could do all of that. Whereas coaches relationship is more on focused on how the individual can change their behavior to get the outcome they want. So coaches usually do not give advice. So for example, if I even feel like giving an advice and I feel that I really do need to tell that, then I need to be able to tell the person I'm getting out of coaching mode. Coaches will tell people the consequences of their each choices or decisions, whereas mentor or can tell them what would happen. Psychotherapists often will lead patients to the desired answer if that is something that is therapeutically indicated. So psychiatrist knows the answer, but they will give that answer to have patient pick up the answer or think about the answer. Coaching, it is not advised to trick the client. So if you know the answer, don't waste clients' time by getting them into thinking of multiple things. So coaching is much more structured and client-focused. Whereas the commonality between all three is confidentialities, boundaries, all of those things are common in all three areas. I hope I answered that.
Oh, you did a fine answer. Mildred, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, first I'd like to say thank you again for being part of this program. I am at John H. Stroger Hospital right now in my other job. I want to say that coaching and mentoring are really strong tools that helps individuals address their thoughts and opportunities, ideas, as many of the things that Dr. Vaidya said. And, I think in terms of coaching and mentorship, you want to look at relationships, your matching skills, and time and resources. And I think if I had to be quick about it, I would say mentoring is really, as she said, a sort of a long-term relationship that you have with somebody. And somebody said once, if the mentor doesn't invite you to their house for dinner or lunch, it's not really a mentor. They're really committed to you and your career, and you have those discussions. And oftentimes, you don't have any structured, you schedule things, but it's not very structured. In terms of a coach, that's usually short in the way that, you're not really going to have a long-term relationship with. In fact, they discourage that relationship. So maybe you're with them for a year or 6 months. It's more short-term oftentimes, but really they sort of try to have you figure out what your goals are and how you get there, maybe help you to make that decision of things that you might have to let go, or is this really going towards your goal? And I think that she did mention sponsorship, and I think sponsorship is also a little different than mentoring. A sponsor may not really be there all the time, but maybe you're applying for a job and you know somebody, and so that person will kind of sponsor you in the way that they call up somebody and say, Maria's really great for this job. I really wish you would look at her. These are the qualities that she has. And they'll sort of step back out of your life, but they'll always sort of be there for you. So I think those are the points that I would make on mentoring, sponsorship, and coaching.
Great. Actually, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but since we've brought up sponsoring, suppose you don't know somebody who can sponsor you, but you want to have a sponsor because you want to make a shift in your career. Is there a way that we could go about looking for a sponsor to support us? Either one of you.
Well, certainly sometimes people that I might have met, I always say that people need a lot of different mentors. You might pick a mentor that's your same gender or race and ethnicity or professional. So a lot of times people will have many mentors in their lives, and maybe somebody, it's from a long time ago. That's a person that was involved in your relationship with you as a mentor. That could be your sponsor. I mean, your sponsor does have to know you and what your skills are. So usually you will pick from your network of people, but they might not be the person at this time that's really talking to you about how you want your career to go.
Yeah, I look at sponsorship in a somewhat different way, Judy, that sponsorship is more of a responsibility of senior members. So as a junior person, one of the ways you can do or be in sponsors' eyes is networking. Obviously, you give presentations at your institution, outside institutions, work on the committees where people can observe you. And so as junior faculty, your responsibility for sponsorship, to gain sponsorship, is to show your good work. Let people know you're there. But sponsorship in academia or in any other field is primarily the responsibility of senior people. we have to recognize who, we don't have to mentor everybody, but you need to recognize who is good at what. And if somebody asks, often the senior people are asked to give presentations or be on committees, and they're very busy. So they may not have time. So that's the time you say, okay, I can't do it, but I have such and such individual who I know would do a fantastic job, a young and upcoming person. Or Mildred would be great for this. If somebody asked me that, would you be able to give this presentation? I said, you know, that's not my thing, but Mildred would be great for that. So sponsorship is more of senior people's responsibility.
Great, thank you both for those answers. So I think most of us are more familiar with mentoring. So I just want to also ask you, Nutan, how does someone prepare to be a coach so that people really understand how somebody has become a coach and what qualifies them to be a coach? And the reason, for those of you who don't know, while I'm posing this directly to Nutan, is because Nutan has recently completed some coursework to prepare her for coaching. So
okay, I'm glad that you asked, is that unlike mentoring, which is more organic and what I like to call limbic system relationship, coaching is a much more structured relationship. And coaches often nowadays go through formal training. And many universities offer coaching certificate programs. And there are also private organizations which offer coaching certificate program. Some of them are in person, then others are online. Regardless, these are usually at least a year-long program, and which require you to document coaching experience. And by the way, being a psychiatrist does not qualify for you to have coaching experience. You actually have to have coaching experience. And there's an international coaching federation, which is like a board certification for psychiatrists. So you can get, like, for example, I am certified as an executive coach, but I'm also going to try to get specialization in academia and healthcare. Then once I've completed enough hours, which is practice hours, not online or learning hours, but practice hours, then I would apply for board certification for international coach federations, or there's another one which is called board certified coaches. And those are necessary for if you particularly you want to go into coaching as business, because organizations and institutions, when they hire coaches, they want somebody who's certified. In 5-10 years ago, there were people who would be able to coach junior faculty or colleagues without the certificate, but now the field is moved in a direction where you really do need to have certificates. These are expensive things usually, and depending on where you are, the bill can run up to $20,000, $25,000.
Wow. So in light of what you just told us, do we have a coaching system in place at Chicago Med School? If somebody wants a coach at the med school, what do they do?
Okay, thank you so much. That's a perfect segue. Yes, we have two different types of coaching systems. We have an external coaching system and internal coaching system. For more of our senior leadership at Chicago Medical School, we prefer that they have external coaches because it's allows them to freely converse and discuss the areas of that they want development. We also do have a limited availability for external coaches for junior and upcoming faculty, but for that, it is often recommended by the center directors, discipline chairs, or the dean for that. And then I will make the arrangements. So the entry point is always me. For internal coaching, I offer internal coaching for selected people. Not a whole lot, because Dr. Chatterjee, who's here right now, wants to make sure that I do my day job well. So I will take a few young junior faculty in leadership in coaching. And my coaching is much more short-term, because I want to be able to provide that service to more people. So I try to do it for 3 months or 6 to 8 sessions. So more like a brief coaching thing, a very specific area. And I'm doing it for a few people right now. So.
Okay, and Mildred, how would a individual at the med school go about finding a mentor at the med school? Do we have any policies in place to provide mentors?
Yes, but before that, I'd like to just talk a little bit about the coaching, because the coaching aspect, I wasn't really aware of it for a long time, I would say. I always say it's maybe one of those secrets, but as I talked to people that were more in senior positions, which I thought had made it and been there, I found that many of them said that they had coaches that sort of helped them out to just figure out what their trajectory was or where they wanted to be or how to get there. And I thought that was really interesting, that that was sort of a thread that went about a lot of these successful individuals. So I don't think it doesn't matter how high you are in a totem pole or not. I think coaching can really always help. So last year during the pandemic, that was sort of a gift I gave to myself, is that I got a personal executive coach just to kind of look at those areas, and it can help just make you focus on things, or maybe, you know, and really try to get to your goals. And I also picked somebody who had healthcare, who was really mainly with physicians in the healthcare system, so that they would know. And, you know, she would give stories of people who are maybe physicians, but wanted to start a bakery or something. And so that's what they were wanting to really focus on. So helping them really get to that end game. But it can be expensive, as Dr. Vaidya said. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity that we have at Chicago Medical School to have that available to people who are there as faculty. So kudos to that.
Let me wait before you go on. Let me ask you, how did you find your external coach?
Oh, I loved my external coach. I mean, I found a woman, Black woman physician, and who worked again with lots of physicians, and she was wonderful. But we had, you know, we always had homework. She always, what I loved about it is that we would maybe we set personal and professional goals, and so she had a whiteboard, and we would go through all that, and we would sort of say what we wanted to do. And then she would take a picture of it and then send it to me. So I would remember what it is I said. And at the end, she kind of brought back that original whiteboard to say, where have we gotten? So I could see where we had gotten, what we had taken out of the, you know, things that were complicated. So I thought that that was really good. And I also, you know, then she cuts you loose kind of, right? Because all of a sudden you want to keep coaching, right? But it's like, okay, you've reached this. Now you have the tools to see how the things you wanted to do are working, but you can touch base with me, but the actual sort of scheduled meetings are no longer. And I can see how that happens, because you do really like mentoring. You really have a relationship that's really long-term, but with the coaching is really short-term. And in the ELUM course that I'm in, we have also had coaches, and we had sort of 2 meetings with them. And that coach was pretty much the same. She was like, short term, you know, maybe it's 6 months or a year, and then you sort of let the people go to continue their trajectory. And maybe they'll need it again later, but it's usually either with a different coach. So that's a learning experience, but I loved it. I think, I mean, sometimes if you're going to get a new job, it's something you have to negotiate to have a coach in that job, but I think it really helps you to focus.
Okay, so let's go back to mentoring. Do we have a mentoring policy at the medical school? And could you tell us a little bit about that, Newton or Mildred? Which one?
Sure. Sure, I can tell you about the mentoring policies. So both our foundational science department as well as our clinical science departments have a mentoring policy in place. Each junior faculty is supposed to be assigned a mentor. A career mentor. In addition, we also have instituted a new policy of ensuring that every new person has onboarding mentor. In addition, in basic science departments and research centers, people get additional mentoring around very specific areas in terms of grant submissions and their career trajectory for that. With our office, Faculty Affairs Office, is charged with monitoring this. So what I do usually every time we have a new faculty, I will meet with them and I will make sure that they have been assigned a mentor. And if not, then I will ask the chair who their mentor are, or please make sure that they're assigned, because many times people have mentors, but they don't realize that these are their mentors. So one of the things also we want to make sure that we establish the process that people know who their onboarding mentors are, people know who their career mentors are. And it doesn't have to be the same person. People can have multiple mentors. But our office is charged with monitoring this part. And as Mildred says, even at the higher level, you can have a coach. Actually, it is recommended that higher you are, you should negotiate having a coach for yourself. So for example, if you're a president, if you're a dean, you may have colleagues, you may have friendly relationships with people, but if by nature or virtue of your position, you're alone. And you do need a coach who can give you objective opinions and not just advisors who work with you or work for you. And actually, I'd see a note in chat that Dr. Chatterjee put in that when she came here, she also negotiated a coach for herself.
I would say that also in my role as in the office that really looks at with underrepresented students, not as much faculty, that we have formed relationships and collaborations with our local like NMA chapter and LSMA and Hispanic Association for those people who want to have people who look like them. And I think same with faculty, we've done a great job recently of increasing minority faculty, still have a ways to go, but also allowing for that faculty to be able to have individuals that they can have as mentored in a particular subspecialty with the local ethnic organizations. And also gender women issues. Sometimes we have WIMs here and we have the WIMs also that we have at the university as well as the AAMC. So there's also gender organizations that we can do as well for specific faculty.
Great. So both of you are very successful in your career. And I was wondering if either of you or both of you would like to share one of your favorite mentoring stories about yourself that really helped you with your career. Do either of you want to open up and share that? Go for it, Mildred. I can see you're dying to tell us.
I have one. No, I have one because I was obviously I went to medical school at Chicago Med and we didn't really have a formal ophthalmology rotation there. And at the very end, I decided because of one of my colleagues whose dad was an ophthalmologist and he wanted to do that. I was giving a talk on diabetes here at County. I was doing a rotation and he said, why don't you use my slides? And I said, great, wonderful. So I used it and I was like, wow, this is so exciting. I would love to do something like ophthalmology. So I actually signed up to go to the University of Illinois and for a rotation because again, we didn't really have one at County at the time, I mean, at Chicago Medical School. So I was there and there was a Black female glaucoma specialist who came through the library and tapped me on the shoulder and asked me what it is I wanted to do when I was doing there. And I said, I want to be an ophthalmologist. And she was like, let me send you to Harvard. And I literally overnight, I was in an airplane. I went to Harvard, was in a lab with another woman, cornea specialist. I got 3 papers out of that, got into ophthalmology with, her, and she really became my mentor. Then when I was in ophthalmology and I was trying to decide what to do, she said, what is it that you're going to do? And I said, I think I'm going to do cornea. She goes, glaucoma needs you. And I was like, ugh. So I said, let me see that again. And I really enjoyed the fact that I could see patients for a very long time and really get to know my patients. It wasn't a one thing. And sometimes they're in my office every single day. So that got me into, glaucoma and ophthalmology. And then she ended up being on the board of trustees of the academy. As a young person, she would have me come with her and meet these people at the board of trustees. I eventually got on the board of trustees of the AAO, remembering all of that. And now she's actually she works in the field of diversity for a big organization. And so me going into that. So, I mean, I think it's just a wonderful story, of finding somebody who is like me, doing something like that, somebody who's really mentored me the whole way, somebody who's sponsored me at times when I wanted to do things and I was trying to take a leap. The first time I heard about Elam was from her. She was like, I'm doing Elam. And I was like, what's Elam? So I think a mentor can really open your eyes to things that maybe you don't see in yourself, but they see something in you. And as I've been doing a lot of homework about people in high positions, what I hear a lot is that those are really people who see something in you that you may not see in yourself and puts you in something or pushes you to do something or raises the bar for you. And I think that that's really having those kinds of people around, people that push you, is really what the success is. I think it takes a village, and all those people are my villages.
That's a fantastic story. It
I-
really is.
So I don't have as, I shouldn't say I don't, I do actually, because my mentor couldn't be as different from me. And, people always think that you have to have a mentor that looks like you or is like you, from the same ethnic background, same gender, etc. So my mentor was a New York Jew, 20 years my senior. I was a very prim and properly raised person. He couldn't talk without using some wonderful, colorful things, very casual. I was yes sir, no sir kind of person. And that's the longest relationship other than my husband and my parents and my family I've had. I've been with him at 37 and for 37 years, and he's still mentoring me on different things. He's more than 80 years old. And you will get to see him because he is gonna be here in our career transition seminars. But he taught me 2 things, and both were interesting. One was, when I was I was interested always in neurology. I wanted to do just 1 year in psychiatry and move to neurology. And he made sure that I recognized that my interest was brain and behavior, and I'll be able to do more neuropsychiatry being a psychiatrist than as a neurologist. So he changed that direction, and I was very, very pleased for that. And second thing, what he taught me was how to take ownership. And I'll share this, that I was an associate training director, and something in the residency did not go well. And he was asking me, from chair to an associate training director, is why it didn't go this. So rather than I said, saying that I did that or I made a mistake or this was something, I used the third person to use. I said residency. This is something that residency needs or wants. And he cut through that by using, and pardon my language, because that's how he was. He says, don't bullshit a bullshitter. Own up to what you did and you'll be okay. And I think throughout my career, I've always followed that advice, that I have always owned up to what I did right or what I didn't do right. So that was my story.
Thank you for sharing that. That's another excellent story. So since I've had my opportunity to ask all the questions I had waiting, does anyone else who's participating today have a couple of questions that they want to throw at Mildred or Nutan and see what we can get out of them?
Or maybe even their own experiences of.
Right, or
wow,
want to share?
Yes.
That's
that would be
fantastic. idea.
great.
Yes.
I see Brenda smiling. I know Brenda wants to share.
I know, I got a coach. I have a coach. And my coach, this is kind of funny, is her last name is the name of the town that's like 20 minutes away from where my husband grew up. And her family is originally from there. I mean, no one had ever heard of this town before. It's in Italy. And anyway, it was kind of, now I feel like we're soulmates, you know? So of course, when I was in Italy, I went and took pictures, and she hasn't been there. And, you know, I don't know if she's ever been there, you know, maybe she went there once. And so anyway, it was just really, so she's very special to me. It's like, and I like that she does. I like what you guys were saying, is that there's expectations, you got to follow through. You know, you see the coach on the schedule and you're like, oh gosh, I got to follow up with that. It's like, I didn't sign up for that. And so it holds you accountable. The other thing she helped me to realize is helping me to stay in my lane, helping me have the work for me, helping me to realize that I spend 80 hours a week in meetings on Zoom by checking a certain thing in Zoom. And I can see on my calendar that there's like, and then how much emails I do and the time I spend doing emails. I'd be better maybe instead of sending an email that leads to more emails, is setting up a meeting, another meeting, but maybe not making my meetings 1 hour, making them 20 minutes. Just little things that are so obvious. She recommends books. She's like, did you read Effortless? And I read Effortless, and that changed my life. I mean, I've only had a coach for like 3 months. And I have to say, like, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like the window opens up. Someone's rooting for you, behind you, supports you, doesn't judge you. You feel safe. You can open your vulnerabilities. And they help you navigate it. And it's the humanity of it, of the vulnerability, and be able to share with someone in a safe space who's not judging you and giving you strategies to get through things is like priceless, really is.
And
So-
Brenda, how did you find this coach?
She was assigned for me.
Through our senior leadership programs. So, but one of the other thing that I want to mention, it which Dr. Chatterjee has put in chat, is that based on your needs, people can try multiple mentors, and this is even truer for women. Studies have shown that women benefit much more by having multiple mentors, and often it is. It allows them to have different experiences, the closer experiences, which sometimes, because of the gender differences, it's not as simple as to have. So, you know, like going to dinner together, going to trips together, some of those kind of things it is. So that's one of the things is recommended, that you should have as many mentors as you can, based on what you need.
I was thinking,
You know,
oh, sorry,
no,
Mildred.
I was just going to say, like, if you wanted somebody who's Spanish speaking, or, you know, you can go to the organizations that do certified coaches, and you could put, you know, the area or what you want, and it'll give you a group of people, you know, that you could reach out to. Go ahead, Brenda.
I was going to say that I think there's we have a lot of resources on our campus. I think, you know, like, you know, we got Mildred, we got Nutan, we got Judy, we got people who, Lucy, you're one of my mentors. Jeanette's one of my mentors. I want to be a mentor to Dima. I want to be a mentor to Anna or Biana. And I want to, and what I realize is a mentor versus mentee. I think if I'm a mentor, now I'm just talking this out, but I just think of my failures sometimes. And I think let's just say Dima and I said, okay, Dima, I'll be your mentor for, you know, onboarding the Chicago Medical School, because Dima is one of our new faculty, and she's got a lot of stuff to do, and it's really cool stuff. but I think it's
You have
important.
witnesses.
But I think it's important that if I say that to Dima, then I should follow, like set up a schedule and say, okay, Dima, let's make this formal. Because I think some of the people I wanted to mentor in my life, I fell through because I didn't formalize it. And all I mean is by putting something on the calendar. Like, let's just, because Lucy's been really great for me. Maybe if I had said to Lucy, hey, I need you every 2 weeks just for 30 minutes, just to touch base, make sure I'm not getting off track for what Lucy does for me. And Lucy, I'm sure would say yeah to that. It's just a strategy because amongst ourselves, we're very supportive, but it's like, if I see her in the hall, it'll be like this quickie, like, we're walking to the bathroom and she's like, yeah, hang in there, whatever. It's like, right, Lucy? I mean, and Jeanette and I are always very informal, like, at 7 o'clock at night at the medical school. Last night I walked over to her office at like 7 o'clock and I was like, that's usually my Jeanette time of mentoring. And one thing with Dr. Chatterjee, she sets up set meetings, and that's very helpful. Just knowing, because she mentors me along with me work, and that's very helpful because it's always, I know that in 2 weeks I got to follow up with what I was told to do, and that's grooming me to be more organized and be more thoughtful, and not get distracted with all the emails and all the other things that happen throughout the day, because I wake up in the morning and I never know what's going to happen during the day. So, okay, sorry, I don't want to keep talking, but
I think it's important for, when you're a mentor and you're a mentee, that the mentee then becomes a mentor to somebody, and you continue to do that, because you learn obviously both sides of what you should do as a mentor, or what you should be asking as a mentee. And I think both people really have to have stake in the relationship.
Also, one of the things that people need to keep in mind, that mentoring at its purest form is a much more organic thing. Mentors pick mentees and mentees pick mentor. So just because we need to mentor somebody, or we want to be mentored by somebody, that may not go through. In coaching, unlike mentoring, is a much more structured thing. We are focusing on specific areas. So you can say, okay, I can be your coach, or I can be your advisor, or I can be your sponsor for a specific area. So those are shorter term, goal-oriented relationship. Because mentoring programs, when you try to set up, and universities have tried many times, and what they have tried is that you initially set up people with, that is the start. But in the long run, people pick their own mentees and mentors, because it's like marriage, much more, it's not, it can't be defined, but it has to be something very organic.
I love some of the quotes that we're coming up with today. That's like marriage. I think that's a wonderful quote. I love what we're learning. We learned that Lucy mentors on the way to the bathroom. She has that capability. Anyone else have some questions or stories they would like to share with us? Certainly somebody out there has some more questions.
Mm-hmm. And, even though it's a WIMS program, I'm excited to see so many of our he for she individuals, the men who are interested in the same topics. And I want to hear from them, those who have mentored and their experience mentoring people of different gender, and what works, what doesn't work.
I'm wondering if Bill wants to jump in there and talk about his experience, because I think he's a great mentor.
Yes, I've heard that.
I've heard that too.
Well, this has been a really interesting session. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So one of the things, I'm not an expert in anything like this. We're hearing some great perspectives today, and also about programs within the university, mentoring, coaching, that are really healthy and great sign of a good place. I love my job largely because of the mentoring thing, helping people thrive and prosper, and to the degree to which I can do that. And to see somebody like Michelle Hastings come in brand new, not that she ever needed much, but, to come in and just help do what I can to allow her to be successful. And for all of them that I've hired, believing in them and making sure they know that I believe in them and that I'll do what I can to help them have really fulfilling careers and be recognized for their accomplishments. I really enjoy that tremendously.
I just want to point one thing out, Bill, that you're so exceptional and you do a wonderful job of mentoring from what I understand. But I really love the way that you recognize your faculty for their achievements and nominate them for awards. I mean, you've always done a very exceptional job of that. And the letters that you write of support for your faculty are just really robust and they show that how much you care about the people that you're mentoring.
Well, these people deserve it. So you hire really good people, right? And
Right.
Then
Right.
you
And where
can
did
come
you
along
find
for the
out
ride.
about that, Michelle, and how wonderful she was or is? Okay, anybody else? Anybody else want to jump in and share a story? Dima, do you want to share a story? Nope.
No, she's muted.
Oh, am I muted?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay. Yes, I do actually. And I mean, I have had few mentors who were earlier when I was in med school who helped pushing me to basically come to the United States, because that was a big decision for female students. I wasn't married when I came here, and but when I entered the residency, and I actually was surprised that the person who I thought would be the most distant was the most welcoming and helping. That's Dr. Vaidya. And I first knew about her from my husband, because my husband was her resident and they used to fear her because she was very strict. And I'm like, okay, so that's a hopeless case. But then when I became an associate director, and she knew that in that role, I will need a lot of help mentoring, moving from a resident to a junior faculty. And I mean, I cannot say how much her mentoring helped me. First of all, see the things that I can and cannot do. And that's very important. And second, help me shape the path of like what matters, what really matters to me, to my career, and where do I need to strengthen things, where do I have strength that I didn't use yet. So yeah.
Yeah, I just want to share. I'm sorry, I'm not in a great place to have my camera on. In my other job, in my consulting work, I work as a physician coach, coaching physician executives, also just coaching physicians in their interactions with patients. But at any rate, if anybody has questions or would like to talk to me about what being an executive coach is about, I would be glad to share that. I think probably a lot more than we can do right now, but I'm glad to talk to people about that role as a coach, because it's really very rewarding to be able to work with people and have them, when they come back and say, boy, what we talked about really changed my life. It's like, yes, that's the fun part about being a coach, really helping people improve their jobs.
That's a wonderful offer. And I suggest that anyone interested in that take Lucy up on it, because she just gave us some presentations at a leadership workshop that we've been taking, and she's really excellent and full of information. Anybody else want to share one of their stories?
I have a question, and I've seen this happen in my life, and I wonder how common this is, where a coach then becomes a mentor to the same person. Where you have a coach, the coach coaches you, gets you through something, helps you with something, and then becomes a mentor farther down the road.
I'm sure it happens, but it is usually not encouraged is the same way we don't want our psychiatrist to be our friend, even though it's friendly. So these things happen, but I don't know what Lucy's thoughts are, but from what I have gathered, that's usually not encouraged.
Yeah,
But relationships
say-
happen.
Yeah, I would say, obviously there's always a little bit of overlap. When I am doing mentoring, I think of it as that sort of totally non-judgmental. I mentor a college student and we've been together, 5-6 years, and just really being very not judgmental and just really being a big cheerleader. And I think somebody mentioned really helping her see things that she probably just wasn't able to see it in herself when she's 16, 17 years old, and excited that she's going to be graduating from college. Very different from the coaching relationship I have, where it's very task oriented. Okay, what are you trying to achieve? And okay, let me watch you in action. Let me give you some tips about different ways you might have been able to handle it. So it's a very different relationship.
And mentoring often, a good mentor-mentee relationship often evolves into friendship when a mentee has sufficient experience and things. Then it becomes often not only just personal, but many times social family relationships. So that is perfectly okay. Coaching and those which are where you sign a contract, there you are bound by boundaries. So those are the relationship where you sign contract. Also, we don't have time that much to talk about, but I thought that those of you who mentor students can talk about that, because as Dr. Chatterjee has put in chat, that there is mentoring faculty and mentoring students is two different ballgames.
Does anyone want to share a story about mentoring?
Oh, coaching, yeah. Coaching, actually. Maybe Lucy can start, because Lucy is the grand poobah of coaching our students.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I mean, certainly I do some coaching for some physician leaders, student leaders. I think right now, one of the big coaching things I'm doing is helping them with mock interviews. So we do a mock interview together. I take a lot of notes, I record it, we go back over, just like word by word, we go over exactly what they're doing and looking for different ways they could say that. But it's very specific, when I'm working with them on that coaching. We are coaching specifically for how you're going to be interviewing for residency positions. So, a good deal of what I do in my job is coaching the students, around a very specific task that they have to do.
So anybody else want to share a story? We haven't heard from Archie, and I was wondering if she may want to share one of her stories with us.
Okay, I'm going to try and make this work, Judy. My internet has been driving me crazy all week. It keeps saying it's unstable, and so we've got a technician coming in about 5 minutes to try and fix it. They've been here 3 times already, so I don't know what the 4th time will yield, but anyway. One of the things that I didn't hear anyone say, which I think is a very critical part of the mentor's role, is to provide support at difficult times. And that is the support that I have sought from my mentors at various stages in my career. And I'll give you a specific example without naming any names and anonymize. This was a situation in which someone was issuing threats to my career. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And so I was very taken aback, and I didn't know what to do. And so I basically said,
We lost you, Archie.
sorry, no can
Maybe
do.
if you turn off your video and we could try.
All right, let's.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so basically what they said was trust in yourself. Are small, and so people know you and people know what your capabilities are. Someone is saying they're going to say negative things about you, try to to derail your career, there's many more of us who are standing by the sidelines cheering you on. And so I think that role as a cheerleader and as a support when you are facing difficulties is a very important role for the mentor to play.
Thank you for sharing that story with us. So do we have any concluding comments from Mildred or Nutan? Parting words that you want to leave us with?
The only thing that I would say that do seek out mentoring, coaching, and things, because it's not like we talk about therapy. It's not a show of weakness. It's a show of strengths. Because as leaders or as individuals, faculty members, doctors, we are all leader in some cases. Nobody has all the tools. And coaches and mentors will find out the areas that you need to develop or you need to adjust. There are some things you can't and cannot do, and other things you can work on it. So it is a journey. And in terms of recommending book, I would recommend a book which is wonderful called The Elegant Self. And this is a book which talks about every juncture of your life, you can make more or better of yourselves, because we often, particularly those who are have accomplished things and senior, get into the trap of this comfort and seniority, and we don't want to grow in the area, because at this stage, change seems much more threatening. And coaching and mentoring processes help us go to the areas where we didn't think we had ability to do that. So I think it's something should be a culture. And I do want to acknowledge where the acknowledgement is due, that I'm very, very grateful that we have a dean in Archie who supports this process. And it's not that people didn't do these things organically, but she's single-handedly responsible for ensuring that we develop these processes in this. And I think we should take advantage of that.
And I guess I would say in this era of, as we come up to Thanksgiving, perhaps we really reach out and thank some of those people that have been mentors in our lives. I think sometimes perhaps we don't really say how appreciative we are and how that person really affected our lives. And if you don't have a coach, then think about having a coach. Give a gift to self for the holidays. And those are probably what I would say.
Oh, that's a fantastic way to close this session out. I love those ideas there. So thank you both, Mildred and Nutan, for sharing your areas of expertise with us and giving us guidance in this area. And remember, everyone sitting here, if you have any questions, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to share what we know and try to help you out. And thank you for logging on today. So with that, thank you all for showing up today.
And thank you, Judy, for excellent moderation.